My next guest is Jim O'Neill from the Marine Corps League, a Congress resident. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for having us.
So, Jim, for the benefit of our viewers, let's talk a little bit about your background before we get to the topic at hand, Toys for Tots, which I know that you've been very involved with through the Marine Corps League. You're a Congress resident?
Yes, 30 years.
So tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you were born, raised.
Born in the Bronx, raised in Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, Oak Ridge, Tennessee during the war, where my father helped build the atomic bomb plants.
Wow.
Then we came back to New York City, and I left after high school and went into the Marine Corps in 1947. I served for 4 years in the regulars, a few more in the regulars, and then went to work for 35 years for the old Bell system, and spent the rest of my career in telecommunications and computer systems.
Wow. So in the Marines, you were in there for 4 years. Where were you stationed again?
I started and ended at Paris Island, which is nicer at the end. And in between, I was with Fleet Marine Force Pacific, 1st Marine Division. Served in Alaska for a winter. Very interesting.
Right.
Before they had the kind of clothing they have today, but that's what we were there to test. And I was discharged from the regulars in '51. I was married by then, and we moved to New York.
So that's a very interesting window of time. So you really kind of served in between two wars.
Yes.
And really kind of when the Cold War was starting to really heat up, I guess that was probably right around the time of the Berlin airlift.
Yes,
as
indeed,
well.
48.
48. So you were right. You were, I guess, front and center in the Marines with that. Probably a lot of anxiety, I know, in the country at the time, because people thought we were going back to war with the Russians over in Germany with the airlift. What was it like for you? Just I'm curious. What was it like for you in that period of time? There certainly must have been some real concern, I would think, on the part of folks in the country, I know at the time, about what was taking place, because really we went from being allies with the Soviets to very quickly adversarial. And so being on active duty during the airlift must have been something quite concerning.
It were tense moments, and the Marine Corps, like all the services, had been cut way back after World War II. Our 1st Division was about at 1/3 of its strength, but we always were told to keep our ears open, and if anything happened that was unusual, head back to the base. And for example, when the Korean War broke out, I came out of church on a Sunday morning in Los Angeles, looked at the headlines, kissed my girlfriend goodbye, and off I went to the base, because I thought I'd be in Korea in a couple of weeks.
Right.
As it turned out, my military specialty kept me from going right away. I was a cryptographer and other very telecommunications stuff. So I didn't go in the first wave.
Well, which is, we're thankful, very thankful for your service.
Thank you.
What rank were you in the Marines?
I finished up as a staff sergeant.
And then you were in the reserves for a number of years as well.
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
Right. Again, thank you very much for your service to our country. And that service has continued, obviously, throughout the years. I've seen you at very many Eagle Scout ceremonies.
That's true.
And maybe you could speak just a little bit about the Marine Corps League in general, and some of the things that the Marine Corps League does and what they're involved with before we get to Toys for Tots.
Marine Corps League, like all the veterans organizations, we dedicated to public service. Surprisingly, some people are surprised when I say we don't just have Marines as members. We have Army, Navy, Air Force members who like to be around us, maybe because we're crazy as they are. But we do things like Toys for Tots, which I'll mention in a minute. But we also, here in Rockland County, we give out high school graduate college scholarships every year. We give out 4 scholarships for Marine veterans at RCC. We have a team of all veterans that goes to Montrose once a month to give some relief and entertainment for the residents of the state home there. we are involved with, various parades, and as you mentioned, the Eagle Scout program. We gave 40 Eagle Awards in 2017
Yeah.
to those who applied for them. We have a website where any upcoming Eagle can register, and will be given a certificate and a medal from the Marine Corps League, just like the American Legion does.
Mm-hmm.
Our biggest annual event is Toys for Tots.
Mm-hmm.
Toys for Tots was started in 1947 by a Marine Lieutenant Colonel, and it grew rapidly throughout the Marine Reserve, and it is still administered primarily by them, although they have many Marine Corps League organizations who help out, or in fact, like we do, we take over a whole county. So while we're under the jurisdiction of the Marine Reserve Unit Mag 49 in Newburgh, they've said to us, you got Rockland, you take care of Rockland County for us. We have another team over in Westchester, the Westchester Marine Corps League. They take care of most of Westchester for them. The rest of the Hudson Valley, the reservists do it themselves. And it's a kind of a two-phase approach. Right after, or right about Thanksgiving time, we distribute about 200, 250 boxes around the county. We have 8 or 10 teams that do that. We also have a team that appears every weekend, starting on Thanksgiving evening now, in the Palisades Mall, where people can wander by and make donations of toys or cash. And we often have one of the Marines from Newburgh helping out with that. Simultaneously, we have another team that has issued letters to all of the 55 organizations, nonprofits,
Mm-hmm.
that have registered with us throughout the county. And they tell us how many toys they need by age and gender. We pack them up, and they come to Haverstraw to our distribution point. It's happening today as we speak, and tomorrow, and that will go on until next week sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, we start collecting all of those 250 boxes of toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to point something out to the listeners and viewers. If anybody comes in to say, I'm here for the toys, if they don't have a pass that says Marine Corps League Toys for Tots and a picture on it, don't give them the toys, please.
Right.
We've had, sadly to say, we've had a number of incidents in the past before we did this, where people have wandered in uniforms, took all the toys, and off they went.
That's just, it's
Pretty
unbelievable. Very sad.
So in Sunbury, we do about 15,000 toys a year distributed in Rockland County.
Wow.
And we collect and sort new ones, put them aside. Usually we only do it around the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a long thing. We don't finish until the middle of January, actually.
Right. Well, Jim, that's really it's an amazing a group of folks. Just our veterans in general. Because as you started off, with your comments, it's about the Marine Corps League. Our vets are very altruistic, and I've had dozens of vets on our shows, and almost to a person, they never want to speak about their service. They never want to speak about themselves. Those that do, and particularly those that have served in combat, will do so because they'll be paying homage to those that they knew that didn't come home.
That's true.
Or sacrificed in other ways, physically or emotionally. And more importantly, there isn't a vet that has been on this show that hasn't been involved in 2, 3, 4, 5 other organizations where they're just giving it back and paying it forward, as the saying goes. And it's really refreshing, for me as a supervisor, and for I think our viewers as they see these shows and these programs, to understand just how integral our vets are to our community, and just how much our vets do that people don't realize. And the Marine Corps League is just another example. From the Eagle Scouts, where really you're kind of giving back in such a very particular way, less than 1% of every boy that joins the Boy Scouts becomes an Eagle Scout. It's a hard road to take.
Yes.
Very often the kids will drop out at different points. So there's very few that actually make it up. It usually happens late in high school. They make it up to that rank of Eagle Scout. And it's really a credit to the Marine Corps League and the American Legion as well, who go to every one of those Eagle Scout ceremonies that I go to. Often I'm sitting there next to you or somebody else in the Marine Corps League, along with our county executive and whatever other legislator or town official might be able to make it. And probably at a bunch of those 40 Eagle Scout ceremonies that you discussed,
Oh, sure.
I was at a good number of them. And to me, it's always great to see how the Marine Corps League and our American Legion give back, because they're providing a continuing example to those young folks. And with Toys for Tots, just what a refreshing, this is a nationwide program. It's not just here, but it's great to see how it's effective here in Rockland County. And with someone such as yourself from Congers, a Clarkstown resident, who's in a leadership position here. So Jim, I want to thank you for your service to our country, as for your time in the Marine Corps. But more importantly, for all that you've given, in that service, and your continuing service now with the Marine Corps League and with Toys for Tots. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much.
We say Semper Fidelis.
Thank you.